We should not limit people from using AI. Instead, we should train them.
We want to be able to leave a good impact. Our end goal is to be one of the guardians or the good people in the industry that are actually there to help.
Welcome to the AI Purity Podcast, where we delve deep into the fascinating world of AI detection technology. Today, we are thrilled to unveil the secrets of AI Purity, a groundbreaking tool that not only identifies AI-generated text, but also uncovers the hidden truths even when it's been masked by paraphrasing. Our journey begins with an exclusive look behind the scenes as we sit down with the brilliant minds behind AI Purity. Get ready to explore the future of text analysis, unmasking the AI one sentence at a time. Today, we are joined by AI Purity's Chief Technology Officer and Chief Operations Officer, Habib and Chris. To give our viewers a little background, our COO, Chris, is a man of many talents. He is also a music producer and is signed to Universal Music Group and Def Jam Recordings. And our CTO, Habib, graduated summa cum laude and has taken master's degree programs in computational linguistics and computer science. Together, they are the brilliant minds behind AI Purity, and we are so glad to have them on today's podcast. How are you guys doing?
Awesome. I'm very happy to be here. Thank you so much, Patricia.
Hi, Chris. How about you, Habib? How are you feeling today?
Hello, Tricia. Hello, Chris. Thanks for having me, and thanks for the introduction. That was great. Thank you.
Thank you. We are so glad to have you today, and we are here to tell everyone about the great launch of AI Purity coming soon. So if you guys would just like to introduce yourselves to our viewers, we can start with Chris. Could you tell us a little bit about yourself and your role at AI Purity?
Yeah, for sure. I'd love to talk about a bit more about what I do for AI Purity. You covered pretty much everything in your intro, but just to share a bit more. I am the COO for the company. So far, I manage all our projects and pretty much make sure our day-to-day goes as well as we want it to be.
Mhm.
As for a bit of a professional background, I graduated in marketing with a focus on psychology. So I like project management. I like working with people. Communication, especially, is a very big trait of mine. So that's a bit about me. Go ahead, Habib.
Okay, thank you, Chris. And I would like just give you a little bit of information about my background. I graduated from Sharif University of Technology in Iran and got my master's degree there in computational linguistics. And then I attended another master's degree in computer science at IPN University, Mexico City. And I got my second master's degree in computer science there, but with a focus on natural language processing and machine learning. And now I'm doing a PhD in computational linguistics at University of Quebec in Montreal, or UQAM, in Montreal, Canada.
Amazing.
About yeah, thank you. About my activities in AI Purity, I developed the models for AI Purity, which work based on machine learning for detecting AI-generated text and AI paraphrase text. And mainly my activities were just developing these models, but except for that, I had a very great cooperation with Chris in other stuff. And maybe later we can talk about those very, very great things we did together. And it was a great experience.
I'm so glad to hear that you guys have a great experience working together, and we really have you guys to thank for the amazing platform that we are sharing with everyone very, very soon. So Chris, I always like to ask this to some of the entrepreneurs that I interview. We always talk about the importance of having a really good team behind you, especially when you're running a business or like you overseeing the operation. So could you tell us about how you found Habib?
Oh yeah, for sure. I'd love to talk about that. Honestly, I feel I've gotten asked this quite a bit now, but I keep telling people I feel like it was like a match made, a perfect puzzle piece when we found Habib for the first time. So like just to give you guys a bit of context, we came up with the idea right after ChatGPT launched, and we felt there was a space and a need for something like this, something like our tool. And
Mhm.
so, yeah, from the initial conception of the idea all the way up to our first interviews, it didn't take too long, probably like 2 to 3 weeks, I'd say, before we actually decided to fully dive in and try our hand at something of this scale. And so together with me and our CEO, Ken, we started vetting out applicants, and like I said, I feel like it was the universe who linked us together. Like Habib was the first one of the first interviewees we actually sorry,
Oh,
applicants that we vetted out. And then as soon as we finished that interview, I remember that day, it was like something clicked, and I felt like Habib was the one that would see us through all the way to the end. And so far it's been nothing but great working alongside him. So I'm really grateful.
that's amazing. And Habib, like you have all these amazing accolades and you could be working at any big tech company. Like, why did you choose AI Purity, which at the time wasn't even called AI Purity? We're a startup business and we've literally started this from the ground up. Like, what made you want to take this partnership and work to create AI Purity, even though you have these like you could have be working anywhere else?
Actually, when we started this startup together, I remember that from the first meeting I had with Chris and Ken. You know, uh, I liked this team's perspective towards the future, and everything went in a way that I was always happy in this team, and this was what somehow was a kind of motivation for me to continue. Now I'm very happy to be in this group, in this team. But yeah, as I said, the main things that were really interesting and important for me to be here were first, they had a great uh, motivation and point of view towards future. And then they really are great people, great team. Really, I really enjoy my working here in this team, and this is something really important. And finally, I am and always I have been happy to be here and enjoyed my time here.
Thank you. I mean,
Yeah.
I definitely agree. It's been a great team that I've actually been had the pleasure of working with. Ken's really great, Chris is really great, and knowing you now, Habib, you've been really great and so pivotal to the creation of AI Purity. And with your respective backgrounds, I mean, Chris, you've worked as a music producer, you've done many assistant jobs, even managerial jobs in the past. Like a lot of people and a lot of like people who want to start their own businesses or want to be successful entrepreneurs, they want to know like how does one get to a place where they can call themselves successful? Like how do you feel like with everything you've done with your past work background, how do you think you got to AI Purity? Do you think it was luck? Do you think it was because of everything you've studied? Like how did you get here?
That's an awesome question. I guess I would be lying if I didn't say luck also played a part. But other than luck, I feel like, other than luck and being at the right place at the right time, I feel my ambition and my work ethic also played a huge part in that, of course. Yeah, like you said, I've had different managerial roles before. So I've been a project manager, I've done human resource managing before, and a bunch of other odd jobs here and there. Like I was a communications officer. But overall, the main thing for me, and ever since I was like a young kid, I really like people. I love working with people. I feel like I said earlier, communication is a really big deal to me, and I always ensure that the people I work with, I communicate well, and overall, I just like making things run. Yeah, making
Nice.
things run smooth. Yeah, so I guess that all my previous years of experience in different roles kind of led me here to AI Purity. It was always been my dream to kind of work in a startup, especially in the tech space. Just a little bit of background. I wanted to take computer science as well, but when I went a different route. I went the marketing and psychology route, which I do not regret. But of course, I would have loved to upskill a bit more in the tech space. But unfortunately, I've had I've been taking lessons, and I've learned a lot from Habib himself too over the entire process of building AI Purity. So yeah, I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, everyone has like different routes that they take. You know, you never really know where you're gonna end up. You could take like a certain degree in college, and like Habib, he took computer science, computational linguistics, and now he creates this amazing platform related to what he studied. So Habib, you know all about computer science. And in the past, did you think you were ever going to be at a startup that is about artificial intelligence? Was artificial intelligence even like studied during that time when you were in college?
Yeah, that's a great question. Actually, I during my studies, I focused on many things that were directly related to artificial intelligence, like natural language processing and machine learning. But yeah, artificial intelligence is a very vast area, so we cannot say that everyone who is in artificial intelligence should work on everything. But yeah, I mean, my expertise is closely related to artificial intelligence, which are natural language processing and machine learning. So yeah, I could expect that one day I would work in this area, but maybe our cooperation here with this team was somehow this was not what I expected, really, to be honest. At the beginning of this cooperation, I thought that it will be kind of a 2 week, 3 week, 1 month cooperation, but little by little, I think both sides, me and Chris and Ken, we understood that wow, we can do great things in the future. We continued and we thought about new ideas, and we decided to add new ideas to our previous ideas, and this went on like this. Yeah, but yeah, regarding your question, sorry, I was just somehow deviating from your question.
No worries.
About your question, yeah, I could expect that I would work in this area.
I love
Yeah,
that. And I can see that it's been a really beautiful partnership. And, you know, it just
yeah.
goes to show that sometimes you expect certain things to go one way and they go another, and it's actually for the best. So I think you guys are both equipped to tell me and the viewers, what is AI purity? Does anyone want to
Habib,
go?
I think
Yeah.
Beautiful.
go ahead.
No, no, Chris, please. Yeah,
Yeah, I would love to hear
All
from
right.
both of you. Yeah.
yeah, sure.
For sure, I'll go first. Yeah, so in its essence and in its main core, AI Purity is a company that focuses on AI content detection. So pretty much everything in that domain as well. We include paraphrasing, text detection, and yeah. So, but I'm sure we'll talk about like the specifics more as we go along. But overall, that's the main essence of our company. Obviously, we want to expound in all things AI down the road, and we do have some great plans ahead. So but yeah, at its most pure form, that's what AI Purity is. We are a AI content detection service.
What would you say about it, Habib, as the
Yeah,
mind behind AI purity? What would you call it?
yeah. From its name, it's somehow clear that the main idea behind AI purities was to purify AI, or which means that so.
Beautiful.
Uh, and this is the start, but of course we can add many great ideas in the future. But now AI generated text detection and AI paraphrase text detection, which are the first ideas with which we started AI purity, are somehow great ideas to uh, detect what academia does not need that, or I don't know, maybe not just academia. Detect whatever society does not need that, which is cheating or plagiarism or those sort of things. So because now a artificial intelligence is changing the world. So this is good and bad. You know, always everything can be good and bad. So with artificial intelligence, that's the same. You can do great things, but you can do bad things too. So AI Purity's responsibility is to detect those bad things. For example, if you want me to make some examples, for example, students can use artificial intelligence to Unfortunately, I don't like this word cheating, but
Mhm.
to show whatever they're not. I'm not gonna say that they should not use artificial intelligence or tools like ChatGPT. I think they should use it, but in a good way, not in a bad way. Because now I hear that some people are saying that no, ChatGPT should be limited or students should not be allowed to use that. I do not agree with those people. I think everything is changing. So even academia should change itself with the new world. Even professors should change themselves with the new world. When there is a very there is such a great tool to use, why should not we use that? But we should use it in a good way, not in a bad way. And this is the main goals of AI purity at this time, to detect those bad things, but to provide great tools for the students and for other people to use in the future. I mean, the things that are related to artificial intelligence, but not everything, but I mean, specific things.
That is so beautifully put, and I totally agree. AI purity purifies AI, but at the same time, we advocate its ethical and proper use. So could you tell us a little bit more about what makes AI purity stand out? I mean, I know that there are already AI detection tools out there. What do you guys think makes it stand out? Why should our viewers right now or anyone listening to this podcast try out AI purity? What sets it apart?
Well, if I want to answer this question, because this is a very good question, and part of this question is technical, and part of this question is not. So AI purity tries to do whatever that cannot be done easily, you know, because when we talk about AI generated texts, we cannot categorize all the AI generated texts in one category. We have some text can be easily be detected, but some texts are really, really hard to detect. What we are trying to do, we are trying to develop really complex models which are able or are capable of detecting challenging texts, challenging AI generated content. That's a little bit of the technical aspect of this question. For example, we are using the combination of paraphrasing and AI paraphrasing or AI paraphrased detection model with an AI generated detection model, because when a text is paraphrased, so it's really, really difficult to detect. So to answer this question, in short, we are going to do difficult and challenging tasks, which, to my knowledge, few companies have focused on so far.
Chris, any thoughts? What do you think AI purity, what's its main standout?
Yeah, well said, Habib. Great question as well, Patricia. For me, the main thing that I always like to say, and I've been saying the past few months since we're building the tool, is at AI Purity, we want to provide more than just data. We want to provide insight. So what I mean by that is there are a couple other companies right now in the space that claim to be perfect. The difference with us is we know this space is ever evolving. There's always something changing. And so there's no tool that can be perfect. What we can do is just do our best and provide our users with as much data as possible for them to hopefully look into and decide for themselves. So that's the main goal. And I feel like that's one of the main things that differentiate us from our competitors. It's our transparency and our commitment to AI transparency as a whole. But yeah, what Habib said is perfect as well. We've taken measures to ensure our data is as accurate as possible. We're traded on multiple data sets. We've even made a lot of our own. And so, but yeah, the end goal is to make sure our users have the insight that they need to make an informed decision. And I feel like that's what is very important, especially in this new day and age now. Ever since the release of ChatGPT, there's been a lot of turmoil, not just within the academic sector, but pretty much everything related to writing. So While we're hoping to start within the academic sector, we have goals to hopefully expand into different sectors as well, mainly journalism. We feel like the government officials would love a tool like this, lawyers. Honestly, the sky is the limit. And I feel like with AI Purity, we can definitely reach a lot of heights together.
I feel like there's a level of sophistication AI Purity is trying to achieve that not all AI detection tools are able to do. As Habib said, like it doesn't just target AI generated text, but if I'm understanding correctly, paraphrased AI generated text on top of giving out all these amazing data that maybe aren't given out by other platforms. So I mean, talking about those technical aspects, what I really want to know actually, Habib, is what is natural language processing, and how do these like technical and this technological advancements, how does it even like work? Like how do the AI detection part work?
Yeah, that's a good question, but not that's not a question which can be answered in a few words. So I try to answer this question in a way that is related to what we are doing. I mean, this the AI detection, AI generated text detection. In short, natural language processing, or NLP, is a kind of bridge between linguistics and computer science, which means that. So if I'm going to just answer this question from the point of view of artificial intelligence, natural language processing is enabling the machines or the computers to understand and generate human language. So these are the two main goals of natural language processing, but it has many other aspects too. Regarding what we are doing now, natural language processing together with machine learning. Machine learning is not just related to natural language processing. Machine learning can be applied to any classification task like image classification or whatever. It is a kind of classification task. But natural language processing is to process the language. Here, the language is the text. I mean, in the written form, but the language can be in the spoken form too. Or sometimes the language can be natural language processing can be combined with image processing. For example, detecting handwritten, for example, something which is not typed. Natural language processing is helping artificial intelligence. It's not only natural language processing. Natural language processing is part of that, and the other part is machine learning. But both of them together, they work together to build this model or this system. But if I'm going to go into a little bit more detail, we're using language models. Language models are now what are changing the world of artificial intelligence. For example, now everyone is talking about ChatGPT. Why? Because of those language models. Now we are calling them large language models, which are behind all those great systems. Yeah, I think I hope that I answered your question.
Yes,
it's
actually,
it's it's a little bit not easy to answer what things are shortly. Yeah.
Yes, the technical aspects are a bit challenging to understand for the regular person. But I did want to ask, just based on all the stuff you've said, so machine learning is also a great aspect into the creation of the platform, as well as natural language processing. Would you say that the more people use AI Purity, the better it learns or the better it operates?
Yeah, exactly. And this is related to the machine learning part of what I said. How it works is that classification based on machine learning works with large data, and it depends on the task. Some tasks need larger data, some tasks need not that large data. But anyways, the more data you give to this machine learning based model, the more it learns. How we can say that it can predict future based on past observations. So if you train a model with a training data that contains, for example, apples, In the future, the model can tell you, okay, this is an apple, I got it. But if there is no apple in the training data, this system doesn't know what an apple is, for example. So, but if you want the system, but imagine how many observations we have in language. We cannot count it. It is a very, 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 very large number. And this is why learning language is difficult, because I'm now making a sentence with this structure. You can make the same sentence with another structure. You can change this word with another word. You can just somehow you can create a word at the moment. So the observations are the number of observations are huge. So we cannot say that, okay, machine, these are the things you have to learn, and please learn them. So that's not possible. That is possible, but that won't give you a very accurate model. So because of that, now large language models are using tons of data, a huge number of data sets. So with the very big number of data, with the big data now, we're having these models. Without this data, we could not have these great models. And apart from that, building a model that is able to process this amount of data is difficult too, because it needs great infrastructure, super fast computers. So I'm not going to go again into the detail, but this is why now pre-trained language models are available for the researchers, for the students, for the people to use. So you don't need to go and train all if you can train your own model, that would be perfect. But even if you cannot do that, you can use those pre-trained language models. And great companies have trained those language models, and now that those language models are available for you to use, but you only go and get them, and you fine-tune that language model to work for your task. So, for example, any kind of task which can be done with language models or related to natural language processing. So, in general, yeah, the more data it has, the better it can work, and the more it learns, it gets trained.
Amazing. So it constantly gets better. I honestly, like, it's mind blowing to me to understand. So I really wanted to talk about a little bit of the business side of AI Purity. So Chris, as the Chief Operations Manager, were there any challenges that you faced during the development of AI Purity and its process, and how would you say you overcame them?
Yeah, that's a perfect question. Yeah, obviously I feel like with something of this scale, there are bound to be hiccups, but it just matters on, how you bounce back and how you tackle those said hiccups. But yeah, in more specifics though, overall, it's been a really smooth process. I'd say 90% of it has been smooth. Working with Habib and the rest of the team, honestly, has been perfect. I feel like, of course, the initial days we were like trying to get to know each other better, but I feel like going into the second week after that, it was like smooth sailing on from there. Obviously, there were some certain parts that were tough. There were some stages in development where we had to hire third-party integrators and developers to help us with our project. That was a long process, but it had to be done, and I'm happy with Habib's help, especially. We did get it done in the end. But yeah, it was like a bunch of interviews, so many interviews, but in the end, it was very, very well worth our time. And as of now, everything's going really smoothly. Other than that, though, I feel like the main part was just trying to help Habib as much as I could, especially with my limited computer science knowledge. So the most part of what I do is just ensuring everything runs well. So I'm the middleman for Habib and the rest of our team, our web development team, RebSharks. Shout out to them. They do amazing work. Yeah, so my main job is to making sure all the gears are running smoothly, well-oiled machine across the entire board. But yeah, it's been nothing but fun. I've upskilled so much, and I've learned so much, and I continue to learn so much every day. from the brilliant minds like Habib and everyone else that surrounds us. And yeah, honestly, I couldn't have asked for a better team as a whole. So yeah.
Amazing. And you guys talked earlier about like academia and its impact and what AI pretty hopefully does in terms of those industries. So I wanted to ask you guys like how impactful do you think AI purity will be to the industries it's targeting? And would you tell us about the other industries besides academia that it wants to target?
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, I'd love to touch on this question, and then I'll let Habib answer it as well. But yeah, for me, I think we can all see pretty much how the invention of ChatGPT kind of shook the world this year, and with that, you know what I mean. It's been kind of like a nonstop evolving thing, and for me, specifically for AI purity, I know our most of our competitors usually focus on the education side of things, which is fair. But for me and for AI purity, I feel like we have a longer vision. I foresee the AI purity brand to be like a one-stop shop for all things AI down the road, with AI detection as our corner piece. But yeah, no, other than that, other than academia itself, like just straight off my head, I feel the journalism industry, especially, would love something like this, especially with the changes of how SEO works now. So copywriters, marketers, even people in the human resource industry, like people who vet applications and whatnot. The use cases are very extensive, and honestly, the sky is the limit. And I feel like the more as time progresses more, and as say AI as a whole starts to evolve more, it'll start seeping more into different industries and sectors. Eventually, I see it being used for all industries, even. You know what I mean? So I feel like we're at a very, very great point in time to step into and build something like this, because I feel within the next year, especially, there'll be a lot of demand for tools like ours. So I'm really excited for what's to come.
What about you, Habib? What do you think? Where's AI purity most likely going to be impactful, and in which industries do you think?
Yeah, I agree with Chris. I think Chris answered this question very well. I'm just going to add that AI purity, what AI purity is working on now, we will have a very impactful effect on what is happening in industry in the future. You know why? Because, as I said, there is no way people should use this great tool, which we call now artificial intelligence, or maybe better words, maybe now it's just exemplify it with chat gpt we cannot limit people from using that. On the other hand, unfortunately, some people use it in a way that now we can see that the senators in the US and some people in the Parliament of Canada, they are trying to limit this great tool, which I understand. I totally understand their concern too. And this is why we say that this has a good impact in the future in the industry, because what we are doing now can somehow convince those senators, those people in the parliament, that okay, there are some ways to remove those risks, to remove the dangers of using artificial intelligence in a bad way. So there are these companies, they are doing great things to avoid people from using this tool in a bad way. So I think what we are doing now will help artificial intelligence grow in the future, and it is very important, I think.
Absolutely, I agree. I think one of the main goals, if anything, is that we hold people accountable for how the way they use AI. And like if more companies and like if AI purity garners that success within its users, like you said, hopefully it changes the way people use AI, and that hopefully they don't use AI for bad, for cheating, for plagiarism.
Yeah, exactly.
That is one of our main goals. So right now we are focusing on AI text generation and detecting that specifically. I wanted to ask you, like, how are we able to ensure currently the accuracy and the reliability of AI purity and its capabilities to detect AI?
This is a good question, because we also thought about it a lot. So how can we develop a reliable system which does not accuse people of, for example, cheating
Mhm.
wrongly, you know.
Mhm.
And this is an important thing. Our systems must be reliable because we are going to tag texts, and behind this text, there is a real person. So we should be very, very careful not to accuse a person of doing something by mistake. And this is a real goal indeed. So
Mhm.
to this aim, we try to evaluate our models as much as possible with different types of texts. And then we are trying to train our models and build our models in a way that if they're going to make a mistake, because as Chris said, we don't have a model in the world which works with 100% accuracy. In artificial intelligence, that's not possible so far. So, so we're building our models in a way that even if they rarely the model is going to make a mistake, that mistake won't hurt people. So this is something which we have set as one of our main goals for our models. So, and as I said, and Chris can maybe add, yeah, we evaluate our models really, I mean, in a very complex process with many different types. And Chris helped me a lot in this process. Thanks, Chris, again. And you can add Chris to what I said.
Yeah, for sure. No, like, yeah, very well said. It's a really great question for Habib specifically, but honestly, yeah, I'd love to chime in too. For me personally, it involved a lot of reading and a lot of going through data sets and a lot of A/B testing, really, until Habib and I were sure that it was making the results that we wanted it to see at the accuracy level that we were aiming for. But yeah, no, there's no other way around it. It just involved a lot of hours, like numerous hours over the past summer, just reading and going through different data, different forms of text. There are different kinds of text. There aren't just essays. There are like transcripts. There are poems. As you can imagine, there are so many different types. And so, yeah, to ensure the accuracy and reliability of our tool, we had to go through all of them. There was no way around it. So, but yeah, I hope that answers your question.
That's really great perspectives. So I really see the collaboration between the two of you, which leads to my next question about how important collaboration is, especially at such a large project. So how do you guys effectively bridge the gap between the technical side, which Habib is the best at, and the operational aspect, which Chris is the best at?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think that a great job is not possible without a great team. Imagine that I built, I mean, really great models, but Chris couldn't help me in the other side, and Ken couldn't help the other side. I mean, in the managerial side, Chris also in the managerial side, and so because we faced a lot of problems, a lot of challenges on the way. So those those difficulties, those challenges could not be overcome alone. Am I right, Chris?
Definitely. As we know, all of us have different strengths, and I feel like that's what Habib's trying to get at. So Habib is like the brain, he's the wizard behind the tools. And so yeah, so for me personally, bridging the gap between the technical aspects and operational aspects of the project wasn't easy, but I feel like I grew into the role really well. A large part of that is attributed to how Habib works. His work ethic is crazy, so good. Everything is clear ever since day one, and so I have to give credit where credit is due. It wouldn't have been easy to project manage everything else if Habib wasn't on top of everything he does. And so much credit goes to Habib specifically. But yeah, other than that though, I feel like Habib said, our whole team is very integral to the success of the project so far. And so my job was just making sure all the technical terms were translated into
Layman's
understandable
terms.
concepts. Exactly, layman's terms for the team, because obviously we decide as a team, for any problems that we did face, we ran it by together, because we really believe in talking it through in detail proper communication, like I've said, is a very, very big deal. And so, yeah, so that's the main part of my job, is just making sure all Habib's technical concerns gets translated into layman's terms for the rest of the team. And so, of course, there were days where that got a bit tough, personally for me too. So I had to upskill, I had to learn what certain terms were to ensure the the machine is well oiled and running at any given time. And so, but yeah, overall though, it's definitely a team effort. I feel like each and every person of our team excels very much at what they do, and so all credit goes to them. My job is just making sure everyone works together seamlessly, and so yeah.
And what have been some key lessons that you both learned during this collaboration process in creating AI Purity?
Oh yeah, for me, just quickly, I feel like I had to upskill a lot. That's a given, but I feel like patience for when you're trying to do something great is very, very underrated. I feel, you know what I mean? Everyone wants to be successful. Everyone has a goal in mind in the end, but without patience and a good work ethic, it's very hard to get to that goal. And so I feel like that's one of the things I've improved on the most. It's just other than project managing as a whole, just developing that patience and having a clear goal, taking it a day at a time, has been very, very good for all of us. And so yeah, I'd say that's probably one of the bigger things for me personally.
How about you, Habib? Any key lessons?
Yeah, I would like to repeat Chris's answer because yeah, it is one of the most important things I have learned, and it was full a lesson for me. All the process was a lesson for me. Yeah, patience and not giving up, because always there is a challenge. Whenever you want to do a project, you will face challenges and challenges, and the more challenges you overcome, you solve, you will go to the next step. You will advance somehow. And either you want to do even a small project or you want to do a big project. This is the same. You have to overcome challenges, problems. If you cannot solve those problems, you cannot advance. So as Chris said, you must be patient. And if you think that, wow, again, a new challenge, again, we have a new problem. So why we're having a lot of problems? This way you cannot advance. The lesson was not only this, everything was a lesson. And Chris knows that we needed to hire some people to do some stuff for us. And in the process of finding those people, we had a lot of challenges. So I'm not going to talk about those things, but yeah, I think the most important thing is patience and problem solving.
And could you both share some memorable moments while creating AI Purity? Let's go with Chris. Do you have any favorite stories you'd like to share with us?
Yeah, thanks for the question. Yeah, there have been a few throughout the past few months we've been working on the tool that stood out to me. I remember this was probably 1 month in working with Habib. This was the first time he sent me the code for me to test on my local machine. And I remember being so surprised and in awe of what he made. But obviously I had to ask him to help me run it for the first time. And I had so much questions, and I remember being worried that Habib would find me annoying.
Mm.
But no, but in the end, like, he was very helpful. And I remember it's like a core memory for me now was when I actually got the code running for the first time. And this was like our first MVP model one. I remember like getting the result to show up on my computer screen was like such a big moment for me. And like it kind of showed me, oh, it's, you know what I mean? It's the first real thing that we could actually quantify and see. That was the first thing for me anyway. So, and ever since then, it's just been milestone after milestone. But I specifically remember that first time I got it working on my end. That was like very, very hard to forget.
I remember you sharing that to us, and we were all in awe of like your first little progresses. How about
Yeah.
you, Habib? What are your memorable moments in creating AI Purity?
My memorable moments are related what Chris said. So I mean, the evaluation of the models were very interesting moments because Chris is a great person in evaluation, and the moments when Chris got back to me with great news. And those moments were very memorable for me because I saw that Chris was excited about the results, and also the team was very happy about the results. And at that moment, yeah, I was very, very happy. And this was, I couldn't change that moment with anything else.
Amazing. Thank you guys for sharing that. I can see like how happy you were with the progress little by little and how this collaboration just went beautifully. Now, this is a little bit of a more technical question. I wanted to ask, like, how did you both find the perfect balance between innovation and practicality when designing the AI detection tool that we now know as AI Purity?
Well, this is a great question because when you're going to develop a model, you can think of several innovations. I mean, you can maybe when you think about new ways to do something, there are many ways to do that, and maybe theoretically you can go with each of them, any of them. But yeah, the viability of the idea, and if the idea is the best, if the approach is the best approach, is very important. Yeah, and I myself try to as you said, make a balance between them. I didn't want to just go with innovative ideas, which, for example, reduce the speed of the model. On the other hand, not just to stick to the old approaches or to the yeah. This is very important, and thanks for asking that. I think there must be a balance between innovation and practicality of the system, the model, and I think that we somehow did that. But maybe Chris or Ken can confirm that. But my opinion is that we did that.
How do you think you've been able to successfully do that, Chris? I mean, obviously, with something as huge of a platform as AI Purity, you want there to be like the best features, but we also at the same time want it to be user friendly. So, do you agree that we've been able to do that with AI Purity, as Habib said?
For the most part, I definitely agree with what Habib said. There's a fine line between practicality and innovation, and I feel like finding that good balance is very crucial. And one of the things we prioritized ever since the start. Um, Back during just the brainstorming phase and conceptualization of AI Purity as a whole, we made sure to account for this specifically. So thank you so much for the great question. As you know, like building something of this caliber can be overwhelming because, as you said, we want to be, offer more perks, offer more features that our competitors may or may not have. But at the same time, we need to keep it practical and user friendly, and all these other technical things that we have to worry about. But no, like in the end, I feel like we did and are still doing a great job at keeping expectations well managed, I'd say. It's very easy to get overwhelmed with a lot of all the things you want to do and implement. So I feel like it all kind of just revolves around the team once more. Having a proper team to discuss things with, our feedback loop between me and Habib specifically is very good. I feel like we work really well together, and so we manage to eliminate what we don't need, and we manage to integrate what we do need. And after that, once we share it with the team, it's easy to confirm. It's easier to believe in what we believe in when they believe in us. I feel like so. Yeah. Overall, I feel like we are doing a great job at that, and I promise we will be continuing to upkeep that momentum and that success we've kind of built there. I just want to end it. We'll keep dreaming very high. We'll keep aiming to be the best, but at the same time, of course, we gotta prioritize. I feel like that's where I'm getting at with it. So, thank you.
Amazing. Managing expectations. Absolutely. We want to give the best, but we also don't want to put too much on our plate. So small steps,
Exactly.
right? So I want to talk about AI in general. I want to know where you both stand on the ethics and responsible use of AI. I know you guys have already touched on it a little bit, but on top of that, I wanted to ask, like, how do you think AI Purity addresses these concerns on ethics? Habib, do you want to go ahead?
Yeah, sure. Well, what AI needs in terms of the ethical aspects of AI, because when you're generating something, you have a maybe more responsibility, heavier responsibility to be careful about the ethical aspect of what you're doing. But now we're paying attention exactly to the ethical aspect of AI. Now, the ethical aspect of AI is one of the main concerns. But fortunately, especially in the area of natural language processing, I mean, whatever is related to human language, I mean, this aspect of AI, we've seen great advances. Especially recently, researchers are paying attention to AI, to ethical aspect of AI more than before. Especially with the new advances, the ethical aspect of AI has become even more important. As I said, now everyone is talking about these advances and how people should use that, how they should develop their models to generate authentic content, because sometimes it gets very, very dangerous. And for example, we have systems which work based on artificial intelligence, which should make very, very important decisions. So if they make a mistake, the consequences of that mistake are huge. So, but yeah, what we're doing is neither dangerous nor risky, because we're trying to remove those dangers and those risks instead of generating those risks. I hope that I was clear enough. I don't know.
Yeah, that does make sense. Kind of like
Yeah.
working as like the balancing act between how people use AI and how to use it responsibly. We're neither here to do anything crazy, like how AI has changed the landscape of like so many people are now afraid of like losing their jobs. A lot of industries have been impacted just by the use of AI alone, and we are here to kind of be the guardians, so to say, of like how people should responsibly use AI.
Yeah.
Do you agree, Chris or Habib?
Sorry, I just wanted to say that what I answered was the ethical aspect of AI from the point of view of the people who are working on the AI, not the people who are using AI.
Oh.
If you mean the people who are using AI, yeah, that's another question, and that's a very important question too. I think that I'm sure that people in the future will receive training how to use AI. Now, a lot of people, or I think maybe in general people, they do not have a training how to use AI. But in the future, schools, universities, other educational institutions, they will add subjects to train students or the people who are in their system how to use artificial intelligence. So in the next maybe 10 or 20 years, things are not like this. People know how to use AI too. And I think that everything changes. University systems change. Schools change, because with the new advances in AI, if you know how to use that, you can do really great things. And this is why I believe we should not limit people from using AI. Instead, we should train them. We should teach them how to use AI.
Amazing. Chris, what do you think?
No, yeah. For the most part, I definitely agree with everything Habib said. Yeah, it's a very loaded question, and I feel like depending on you ask, people will have different answers, right? So, speaking on behalf of our team and AI Purity, I feel, of course, like we hold proper ethics and responsible use of AI at a very, very high regard. At the core of it all, I feel like this is kind of more or less the reason why we even started this tool in the first place. Just for some context, I remember back during conceptualization, there were a lot of students that were being trained by their profs, but also vice versa. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, your essay was made by an AI, but what can the student do if they've been accused? There really isn't a solution, and so it kind of this question kind of plays a part into that. It's like we want to be able to leave a good impact in the world after all is said and done, especially in the realm of AI. As you know, personally for me, I do feel like it's here to stay, no matter how we feel about it personally. I always tell my friends and colleagues, it's like similar to the invention of the calculator or the invention of the internet back in 1983. At first, there are going to be a lot of people who despise it, but eventually people are going to come around and understand it's something that we won't be able to stop and rather just adapt with. There have been a lot of times in history where something of this sort has happened, like something of this caliber. And so if we've learned anything from the past, we should just always be able to act, adjust, and analyze and, move accordingly with that. And so but for AI, to be as transparent as possible, our end goal is to be one of, like you said, the guardians or the good people in the industry that are actually there to help. With something of this caliber, it's human nature to find people who abuse it, but at the same time, on the other side of the picture, it's very normal to find people who actually try and improve on it and try to make everyone's lives, a better place with the work they do. And so I feel like we fall into the latter part of that. The end goal is just to, give people something they can use that will be beneficial for everyone around them, and all, of course, to them specifically. So
Amazing. Thank you both. And I also wanted to ask, what are the steps that were taken to ensure AI Purity's ethical use and the prevention of potential biases in its algorithms?
yeah, specifically, our data sets that we use to train the model were taken from ethical sources, of course, and or sources that were properly vetted. This kind of ties into your previous question too, on how we ensured the model wouldn't have any biases or anything like that. Or it wouldn't have, I wouldn't say any false information. So yeah, with that in mind, we made sure to actually read every data, go through everything we feed into the model to make sure there aren't any false information that we provide, that we have no biases at all. As you know, ChatGPT, even they themselves have been a bit more strict into what you can and can't do. And so for us, we kind of more or less try to adhere to what they're doing, especially since they're the industry standard for everything. But whatever they think is fine, of course, we'll do the same. And for now, hopefully down the road, we'll have a voice of our own to influence these other industry leaders. But for now, we've just done our due diligence. We've kept our head down, make sure everything we worked on is properly vetted, and all the data sets that we made our own were also, thorough and not show any bias at all. But yeah, by all means, Habib, if you have any thoughts to share as well.
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Chris. Yeah, I just want to add that the most important ethical aspect of our system is to make the best decision that does not hurt the people who are using that or the people who are connected to that. For example, as I said before, if a university professor is using that to see an article written by his or her students or a student is AI generated, if we make a mistake, this mistake can have a consequence for that student. So this is not ethical not to pay enough attention to this thing. So we're trying to do our best to reduce the risk of making such mistakes as much as possible. So I think this is the most important part, the ethical part of the ethical aspect of our system, our tool. And of course, as Chris said, we're trying to use the best data to train our models, not to use the data that biases our model and those sort of things. And I totally agree with Chris. But yeah, as I said, when people are using our tool, we are making their we are doing our best to build a model that makes the less possible mistake that can hurt people.
Thank you guys for sharing that. And I think I agree that AI Purity does its best to contribute to the responsible use of AI in society. Now, I want to ask, what do you guys think are the future plans for AI Purity? How do you envision us growing in the near future? Potential updates, maybe new features. What do you guys think?
I without sharing too much as to the specifics. But yes, of course, we're just gonna keep our momentum up. Our momentum up. We have a really great trajectory and awesome plans for the very near future in terms of potential updates and new features that we want to introduce to AI Purity after our AI content detection tool. Um, I am not at liberty to say any more, but all I can say is the future looks really bright. And like I said earlier, we're aiming to be a household name for all things AI down the road, hopefully in a year or two, and like a one-stop shop for everything AI related. Of course, ethical and responsible. But yeah, I'll let Habib take it over from here.
Thank you, Chris. Yeah, I just want to add that you will hear a lot about AI in the future, but one of the best things I can just mention is that we are going to focus on the research and the academic part of what we're doing too. So we will contribute to this area in the future by publishing papers and attending conferences in the future too. So this is maybe one of the best things that I love about future with AI purity.
Amazing. I think we are really trying to establish that goal of becoming authorities in the AI detection world. And that's what
Yeah.
we can right now disclose to our viewers right now. Well, I did want to ask the specific industries that we wanted to target and we wanted to contribute to, but you guys already talked about academia and other industries. Were there any more industries you think that would be the best suited for AI purity to target besides academia? Chris?
Chris,
Yeah.
please.
Yeah, no, honestly, that's a great question. Like, yeah, obviously we want to develop a bit more in regard to into the academic sector, mainly because they're the ones who need it the most right now. But down the road and very, very near in the future, we want to start helping out with marketers as well. Journalism industry will need a lot of tools like this. Copywriters, marketers, like I said earlier, even government bodies like for we want to get into cybersecurity at one point, make sure everything is, runs well for them. There are a lot of use cases for AI related tools that they can use. But honestly, it's a very broad answer, mainly because we have plans for each and every industry out there right now. This kind of ties into being practical and prioritizing certain features first, of course, but eventually I see us down the road tackling every sector out there, mainly because AI will seep into every sector out there. And so we'll be here to stay for sure.
What do you think, Habib?
Yeah, exactly. As Chris said, AI will be a main part of every sector in the future. I think that all those sectors in the future need to use AI in an ethical way. So of course there are some stuff which must be purified, and this will be our main mission in the future to purify those things.
Besides, are there any plans besides AI text generation that we would like to purify? I know a big thing right now is like deep fakes and stuff like that. Have you guys heard about that?
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, I'd love to talk about this as well. That's a fantastic question. This also kind of ties into the ethical use of AI as a whole. I feel like when that topic is brought up, the first thing people go to is, deep fakes, like, because that's mainly one of the worst things you can use AI for. But at the same time, it's also kind of one of the best. And the reason I say that is because, like Patricia shared earlier, I also work as a music producer. And so AI has been kind of seeping into our industry as well. So there have been great things about it. There are some deep fakes, where they kind of emulate an artist's voice. So you know what I mean? There have been some great tracks released this year where the two artists never even met in real life. It's all just AI generated, but it's such good work. So, but with that being said, of course, there are like a lot of copywriting implications as well.
Yeah, okay. Well, you were talking about like deepfakes being used in the music industry. I mean, you said it's done great tracks so far, but it's also equally as scary, don't you think? That machine learning doesn't only store data in languages, it can now store data in images and voice. Like,
Mhm.
how do we, I mean, are you not scared of that? I mean, what do you think? You were saying earlier that, now we can like create tracks from musicians that don't even know who the producers are, and they aren't even the real singers of these tracks.
No, yeah, no, perfect. Like, yeah, just to expand on that a bit further, like you said, deepfakes are very concerning right now. It's probably one of the most concerning things in regard to AI, and it's one of the things that have a lot of negative, uh, connotations regarding it, especially throughout social media. But yeah, for me, it's a great question for AI purity as well. I'm sure down the road we would want to start delving into, deepfake generation as well. I'm sure like artists and other creatives will need this down the road to like properly vet whether something was human made or AI made. And like, with everything in the art world and how AI is progressing over there, it's been crazy. Like Photoshop has been on it, like their generative fill is insane.
Mhm.
Yeah, so there are a lot of, you know what I mean? Um something to verify whether an art piece was made by AI or human, or even a mix of both, will be very, very in demand very, very soon, I feel. I feel like Hollywood itself and the Western media and culture are slowly catching up to this as well. Like I said earlier, there have been a lot of tracks where artists collab together, but they've never met each other, and it's just overall really crazy. And so yeah, that from there you can go into so many topics like who does the copyright belong to when it's made by an AI, even though it uses someone else's voice. You know what I mean? There's so many implications regarding all this, and so of course, eventually, we hope to start delving into tools that can help in this regard as well. Just pretty much verify where a certain piece of art or media comes from will go a long way, I feel, especially in like 1 to maybe 3 years from now.
Habib, do you think that's possible for us to do in the future, to not only detect text, AI generated text, but AI generated images, videos, or even songs? Do you think that's a possibility?
Totally, totally. Yeah, yeah. And I think we're even able to do that now, but we, at the moment, we are focused on this part of our project. I mean, mostly focusing on natural language processing part of the project, and in the future, of course, we can focus on different aspects. Yeah, and as you said, everything can be generated by AI. It is not only text, it is not only language, and language has different aspects too. Language is not only written, it can be spoken too. Now, for example, you must have seen there are some applications that can imitate what you say, or I don't know, generate a voice that is exactly like yours, and speak instead of to you, and do a lot of things. So those are other aspects that we can focus on too in the future. Yeah, yeah, of course we can focus on every aspect of artificial intelligence in the future.
And I wanted to ask you guys, like, should users of AI be wary? Because if I'm not mistaken, AI stores the data that is constantly fed to it, like we do when we fed it all these like scripts and like basically anything that they can learn from like essays or books. Right now there are many trending applications online where you can upload your photo
Mhm.
and then it gives you other variations of a photo, basically your face pasted on a different body. To our viewers out there, do you guys have any advice? Like, should they be wary of using AI in this way? Is it okay? What do you guys think?
They should. They should. There are many applications that are built only for data collection, or there are some projects based on something which is called crowdsourcing, which means that you're working for a company or for a group or for a project without even knowing that you're working for them. So you must be very careful what you're doing, which application you're using, which data you're feeding to the application exactly. Sometimes it won't hurt you, no problem, if you help others too. But sometimes, no, you must be very careful about that. I even have an example in my mind, but that example didn't hurt people. It was useful too, but maybe it's interesting to note that there was a old handwritten text they wanted to use for machine learning. But they wanted to, actually, if I remember correctly, they wanted to build OCR systems, or it is optical character recognition, to convert those old books, which were for a library, I think, in the United States, to convert them to digital data, which can be used in, for example, ebooks or something else. But some of the books were very old, and the OCR systems could not recognize the texts. And they collected all those unrecognizable data, and they gave those texts as CAPTCHA to the people. And they asked people to enter whatever they see. And for example, they gave one to, I don't know, 1,000 people. And if, for example, out of 1,900 people, for example, entered the same thing, they could somehow be sure that, okay, this is, so instead of hiring people to do that, they used them as CAPTCHA. So this can happen in a bad way too. For example, there are applications, okay, we can add some features to your photo, please provide your picture, but maybe you're giving your data for some stuff for, you don't know for what. So yeah, the question is, yes, you must be very, very careful.
What do you think, Chris? I mean, because you're in the music industry, and I know you've had your hand in creating songs and tracks out there. Aren't you afraid that one day, that would be fed to AI and someone out there will be producing music using your instrumentals or your vocals in the future?
Oh, yeah, perfect. Such a good question. I feel like Habib nailed it on the head as well. In the end, my answer is yes. You should really be wary, especially in this day and age. But with that being said, it all does boil down to data collection, like Habib also said. Like, I'm sure we're all on social media, we're all on Facebook, we're all on Twitter, we're all on Google, and so we're pretty much consented to sell our data anyway. And so the scary thing about AI, though, is they're just sometimes taking this a step further, to where it kind of borders into the unethical line. So I guess my advice for like any listeners or viewers is just read the fine print, know what you're getting into when you download a certain app. For more often than not, like the 30-second of fun you have with it is not worth the data they collect from you in return. And so, yeah, I guess that's just my take on it. You should all be wary when we're on the internet. Be wary on what tools you use and what you consent to. Like, when you see a cookie pop up, read that fine print, see what they're actually taking from you. And yeah, but yeah, for the most part, I guess in regard to media creation and whatnot, just personally speaking, I wouldn't mind if anyone used my instrumentals or like my voice to make art of their own. I'm sure depending on the artist, it'll matter, their opinion will change depending on who you ask. But for me, I feel like art is meant to be collaborative anyway. And so if they feel like they want to collaborate with me but choose to go that route, then by all means, it's fine. At the end of the day, it's more art never hurt anyone. And so I guess just in that regard, just be ethical as best as you can. It's really the only thing you can do. Always try to ask from, always try to credit the original artists, as that goes a long way. Even maybe try and reach out and give them credit where credit is due, like in the form of a payment. Depends. There's so many ways to go about it where it's not unethical, but I guess that's just my advice. It's be a good person, give credit to where credit is due. And yeah, we should be fine.
Absolutely. I mean, I doubt that you would feel the same if someone were to take your work and capitalize on it without giving you credit. So obviously, that's
Definitely.
where the line is of being unethical when you're using AI. So now that we're talking about like data security, how can we ensure our users that once they're, giving out their information and using our tool to check if their work is AI generated or has traces of paraphrase AI in it, like how do we safeguard their data? How do we ensure our users that no, we're not going to use anything that you tell us and sell your data? How do we safeguard there?
No, for sure. That's a fantastic question. I'll answer this one, Habib, if you don't mind.
Sure, sure.
Yeah, so going into AI purity at the start, we knew confidentiality and privacy would be a very, very big thing. And if it's not, it might as well be the biggest thing, actually. So our promises as a company is that we'll never sell or never intend to sell any data that you do that our users consent to give us. For any samples that you may scan through our system, it only remains within our system. We have the necessary security methods and compliances in place to make sure nothing is leaked. We've been serial entrepreneurs and we've been in the content writing space for almost 12, 13 years now. And so a big part of that work involves privacy and client confidentiality. And so nothing changes for AI purity. We hold that at a very high regard. It's really one of the most things we're very serious about, because any sort of breach in our system can have massive implications. So yeah, I guess for us, we'll just keep updated on all industry standards, and that's our main promise. We'll never sell you or the user or any of your data to any third-party companies.
Habib, I mean, on the technical side, can you also ensure that our users we can safeguard basically their data and not infringe on their rights to their own work?
Yeah, Chris answered this question, so I'm not gonna talk about it a lot because it was good enough. I mean, Chris's answer talked about everything, but regarding the technical aspect of the model does not share anything with others. The model only receives the data and then processes it, and then finally, I mean, the current models, at least, they do not generate anything, or they just decide or classify the texts. That's it. So I think there is no risk in using the data in a bad way, or I don't know, using it or generating something. For example, a person scans a text including his name, and the person is worried that maybe his name is gonna be shown somewhere else and in another text. No, that's not gonna happen. So we're not gonna use that what they give us to generate something, or I don't know, to use it to as Chris said, to sell it in the future. No, we're not gonna do that.
Amazing. I'm sure our
Yeah.
listeners and potential users of AI Purity are assured by that. A new question I want to pose to you guys is, how do we plan to stay ahead of the curve? There are other platforms that do similar things as AI Purity, but how do we stay ahead of them?
Yeah, for me, I feel like the most important thing really is listening to our users and putting our users first. So yeah, in that regard, I feel like if you're grounded and actually listen to what people need, you can go a very, very long way. It's all about keeping an open mind and keeping an open ear and actually implementing the ideas that people want to see and what the people need. And so I feel like what a lot of different companies do sometimes is they easily get lost in the whole grand scheme of things and just start, implementing what they want to do. For us, I feel like ever since the start and till the foreseeable future, we're always going to be putting our users first. And I feel with that in mind, we'll go a very, very long way in terms of, keeping everything going smoothly and implementing new features as we go along as well. So that's my take on that.
What do you think, Habib? How do we stay ahead of the curve?
Yeah, from the technical aspect of the company or the service, we try to, because artificial intelligence, in particular machine learning and especially natural language processing, is going very fast. So every day, every week, you will see a new thing, a new technology, a new advancement. So we should do research every day, try to use the most state-of-the-art algorithms, the most state-of-the-art approaches in natural language processing and machine learning. I mean, our research goes hand in hand with our technology, our service. So this is what can elevate us, and somehow this can help us be, or to provide the best services always in the future, because if you want just to stop and say that, okay, now we have a model, this model is working well, but you don't know, maybe next month your model is not good enough for the new, based on the new advances. So my answer is that we should, and we are going to do both research and improve our models based on the new advances.
Amazing. Now for our viewers, like, what would you like to share and what can people expect from AI Purity now that we're about to launch soon? Chris, you want to go ahead?
Yeah, by all means. Yeah, so I feel like we shared a lot in this podcast, and so for anything that's not been mentioned, I highly recommend checking out our website. You can see firsthand, you can try it, and I'm sure, without a doubt in my mind, that once you do try it, you'll probably be here to stay for the foreseeable future. But yeah, I guess I'll leave it at that. A lot more to come from us for sure.
How about you, Habib? Anything to say
Yeah,
to our potential users?
yeah, I encourage the people who are listening to this podcast to try this model. This is an amazing model. I'm sure that they will enjoy trying it, using it.
Now you guys can both answer this. I want to talk a little bit about like specific features. Like, are there anything that you're most proud of about the features you've built on AI Purity? Something that has never been seen before, or something that is just adding so much value that hasn't been seen in this landscape before?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure if those features are not used in any other applications in the world. But as far as I know, we are using really, really unique features in this model. For example, we are providing both information that the users need to know if their texts are authentic, and some extra, I'm just going to call them academic information, which means that we are going to provide some information which can be useful for the people who are familiar with this area. For example, some statistical analysis of the text, some statistics, I mean, some numbers. So yeah, these things I think are unique for AI Purity. Except for that, I don't know if I can say that now here, but we're going to provide we are going to export a PDF for the users, which contains really detailed analysis of their text with different models, and we will provide really interesting information about their text in that PDF. They can both see the results on the website and download the PDF and look for more in-depth information in that PDF.
How about you, Chris? What can you share about the lovely features that are so unique to AI Purity?
Yeah, I think Habib did a really good job expanding on the features that I really particularly like. But yeah, no, personally, just to add a bit on top of what he said, is the PDF export option is amazing. It's well, beautifully crafted, and it does include so much data that an average user, but also a more scientific user, will find very, very important to see and very, very useful. Like I said earlier, we aim to provide not just data, but insight. And so I feel like the PDF really does that justice. And so that's probably my favorite part of everything we've integrated so far.
Do we want to share with them like what they see on the PDF?
Yeah, so I don't know if I'm at liberty to say that, but we are going to, I mean, our model provides information for two models. And in the PDF, the text will be analyzed with two models. One model analyzes the text based on a model which detects paraphrasing texts, and another model detects AI generated text. And this is really a unique thing. I've never seen such a thing anywhere else. The overall, which is based on the performance of both of these models. I can't give more details about this, but yeah, this is something really unique.
How about you, Chris? Is there anything you want to share about how in-depth our analysis are for using our AI detection tool?
I can add on to what Habib said. Without similar to him, I'm not at liberty to say or disclose anything too much. But what I can say though is the paraphrasing text detection feature is amazing. It's crazy. It's like the closest thing to magic right now. as you know, like paraphrasing tools out there are very rampant, and they usually, more often than not, get through other detectors. And so we're really, really proud of what we made in this regard. I'm so proud of Habib especially, and our whole team as well, to that helped make this come into fruition. But yeah, like just to say, there's in the PDF export report, there's a feature there where you can actually see which certain sentences we think are paraphrased, and that alone, in addition with all the other stats you see on that PDF report, is bound to blow any regular user's mind. So I'm really excited for the world to see what we've made. I'm really, really proud.
I think our viewers can see that our developers are being quite vague, and they're pretty much saying that if you want to see what the PDF looks like and you want to see what the report looks like, you have to go to AI Purity today and use the tool itself, so you can see how amazing Habib and Chris and the whole team at AI Purity has created this tool specifically for its users. You guys want to share where our listeners can connect with AI Purity and stay updated? Where can they find us?
So we're all in the big social, the top two, Facebook, Instagram. You can look at us up. It's AI Purity with a space in between, I believe. We're also on Twitter or X. We're on LinkedIn as well. The best way to reach us is through our email. It's info@ai-purity.com for any inquiries or any just questions, or even just generic emails that you want us to read and check out. By all means, please feel free to do so. We're very active on there, and we try to answer each and every single one. So
Thanks for sharing that, Chris. Habib, any final words you'd like to share with our users before they try out the platform that you created?
I'm happy that we successfully created this tool for our users, and I'm sure that they will be happy using that. And I just want to again convince them, go and try it. And then I'm sure that after trying that, they can use it to make sure that what they are writing is authentic too, because this is not something only the professors use or someone wants to use to catch someone red-handed. No, even the students can use it to ensure that what they're writing is authentic. Because as I said, I believe that everyone should use ChatGPT and other great artificial intelligence-based tools, but they should use it in a good way. So they can use these tools to ensure that what they're doing is true. And yeah, that said, I'm happy to see in the future how satisfied our users will be with us.
Thank you so much, both of you, for being on today's podcast and for sharing these amazing insights. I'm really excited for the future of AI Purity, and I'm excited to see how successful our launch will be. And to everyone who's here, thank you for joining us on this enlightening episode of the AI Purity podcast. We hope you've enjoyed uncovering the mysteries of AI-generated text and the cutting-edge solutions offered by AI Purity. Stay tuned for more in-depth discussions and exclusive insights in the world of artificial intelligence, text analysis, and beyond. Don't forget to visit our website at www.aipurity.com. Share this podcast to spread the word about the remarkable possibilities that AI Purity offers. Until next time, keep exploring, keep innovating, and keep unmasking the AI. Goodbye, guys.